going on, everybody? This is Ray Hayes with Supplier News, coming to you again with another mini podcast. I haven't done one in a while, so thank you all for joining me for the podcast. I really appreciate it. I hope everyone had a good quote-unquote holiday. If you all celebrated, if not, hope you all have been fine and have been doing well. Before we start, I did want to mention, please follow us on our social media platforms and check out our articles, our daily articles on www.suppliernews.com. We go over a array of topics dealing with supply diversity, diversity in tech, just diversity in general, politics, small businesses, veteran owned businesses, and things going on with veterans in general. We deal with all of that, and we touch on topics sometimes about comics and entertainment, the entertainment industry, so to say. So check us out. Like I said, we post articles daily. The website, once again, is www.suppliernews.com. On our social media platforms, we're on Facebook at Supplier News, so please like our page. We're on Twitter as well at GDN Network, and we're on Google Plus. So if you use any of those platforms, check us out and give us some feedback. Let us know how we're doing. We would definitely be gladly appreciate it. Tonight, I wanted to talk about an article I recently read on The Guardian, and the writer talks about whether or not journalism is objective. They give their point of view, basically saying it's not, due to the fact that majority of the journalism jobs in the United States usually go to white males. And this is from a study done by the ASNE. So if you want to find out more about the study, go to asne.org. But 87% of the time, journalism jobs go to white males. So let's add that up. Okay. If you want to say the fact that journalism is objective, however, majority of the jobs go to one group of people, and one group in regards to sex and race, then how can there be objectivity when it comes to reporting stories? So say, for instance, you have the media talking about stories where they're basically humanizing Nazis or serial killers or domestic terrorists. For instance, the Las Vegas shooter. Those individuals, the stories were told to make it seem like, okay, yes, they did these horrendous things. However, they had this problem going on in their life. They had this going on. They had that going on. But it gave a flavor. It gave a feeling to it that, okay, they're still humans. They made a mistake. But when it came around to young men being killed by police officers, you look at the negative side of things. You're not focusing on whether or not they're human. You're focusing on, okay, this young man did this, and basically you add it up. This is the reason why he got shot. He was already doing wrong, or he had this in his background. So, he was a rough kid. He shouldn't have been in the situation that he was in. So it's kind of based off, it's his fault. And it's not like it's not the double negative, but you're not making their side of the story humanized because it's a subjective point of view. And it's what you see, what you experience. So if you have no experience with these young people or young men who were shot, you can't. It's hard for you to humanize that individual. So, with that being said, these jobs are left to minorities, whether it be people with disabilities, people in the LGBTQ community, or people of color who are journalists. They're left up to telling these stories or humanizing these stories or talking about the secrets of Harvey Weinstein that these journalists who are overwhelmingly being hired are afraid to talk about because of, okay, this person is in a position of power. So they're highly subjective. Because they know if they talk about this person in a negative light, then I may lose my job. But when you have, like I said, a minority talk about a particular situation or write about a particular story, it's like, what the heck are you doing? For instance, from the Guardian, the article, they talked about a story where an openly transgender radio personality was fired from their job. So let's give you a brief story of it. Lewis Wallace is like I said, the open transgender national radio reporter. Wrote a story, or not necessarily a story, but wrote an essay on the Medium called Objectivity is Dead. In it, Wallace wrote, "Neutrality is impossible for me, and you should admit that. And you should admit that it is for you too. That it matters who is making editorial decisions. That facts are real, but are also priorities and perspectives. And that we can check our facts, tell the truth, and hold the line without pretending that there is no ethical basis to the work that we do." Can you guess what happened to this individual just for writing that story? He was fired. That's crazy, right? The fact that he was fired for telling the truth. It makes no sense. But you're having situations like this because minorities have to step up and take the leadership role and say, okay, I'm going to tell the objective side of this story. Or be honest. And they're being punished for being honest. You had where, even though I didn't agree with her, and she did go about disobeying the rules of her company, Jamel Hill. She posted on Twitter something negative about President Trump. You know what I'm saying? The fact of it is that, granted, she was being honest, but she went against protocol. But she's telling it like it is. But when you have other individuals telling it like it is, it's not being received in the same light. And I'm not saying received in the same light by the company, because the company did what they were supposed to do. ESPN did what they were supposed to do because she had been warned. However, I'm saying to the general public, it's like she's telling some fable or this crazy story, or she's just lying out of her teeth. No, she made a point that was relatively true. But she's being openly criticized for telling the truth. And that's the problem when it comes to journalism. The fact of it is, you're telling a subjective truth, right? But you're feeding into the ideology of what people want to hear, instead of being honest and telling the objective side of the truth. You're losing. You're losing a base, and you're losing the art of journalism. So the simple fact of it is that it needs to stop. So if we constantly keep writing these stories about in particular, these neo-Nazis, while ignoring the stories going on in Libya with the slave trading, the modern day slave trade, or the stories that are going on in Detroit about how entrepreneurs are building up the city. If we steady focus on the subjective truth to feed into the ideology of what we're being constantly fed through CNN, Fox News, MSNBC, then we're failing U.S. citizens. And that's the problem. Therefore, you cannot just hire one set of people to hold the position of power to tell these stories. You have to be willing to open up and give your audience another perspective and give your audience more stories. Granted, yes, it's interesting to hear about these neo-Nazis. Cool. You want to hear about it? But tell me something else. And if you're going to tell me about them, get more into detail about them. Tell me what's going on and be honest about what they're doing. Don't just give me the fact that I heard an article basically saying neo-Nazis are still humans. Granted, they are. But some of the stuff they're talking is crazy and is ridiculous. It's utterly ridiculous. And we have to speak up and talk about it. And give audiences and people like myself a variety of stories in the mainstream media. With that being said, I want to thank you all for listening to my podcast. I hope you all have a good evening. Please leave feedback. Let me know how you all feel. Once again, my name is Ray Hayes with Supplier News, and I hope you all have a good evening.